From KPFK in Los Angeles, California, Valley Free Radio in Florence, and WMBR in Cambridge, Massachusetts, WNUC in Detroit, and BikeTalk.org worldwide, this is Bike Talk.
Bike Talk?
John Jabalisco is on Blue Sky at pedaling past 60, and since I'm right around 60, I found that pretty interesting, and I got a chance to sit down and talk with John about biking in Omaha, Nebraska past 60.
We recently had Carol Cachadorian on the show. She's been on a couple of times, and she's talked about cycling past 50 or cycling in your 50s or continue to cycle past 50. But we're going to one up that today with John Jabalisco, who has a blog and an Instagram and a life of cycling past 60. John, welcome to Bike Talk.
Thank you for having me. I'm so tickled to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. Cycling past 60 is one thing, but when did you start biking?
Well, I started cycling to work back in the 90s, and I live 4.5, 5 miles from the theater that I work for.
Right.
And the hills are monstrous in
Omaha, really?
In Omaha, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
first of all, John, I should say that you are a sound designer at the Omaha Playhouse in Omaha, Nebraska. So I always think of Nebraska as being kind of flat.
well, there are a lot of flat areas, but the Omaha coming up from the river is very hilly. Well, now I weigh an eighth ton, so do the math. But dragging myself up and down those hills was hard, but it was great exercise. And I even would put my son on the back and drop him at my mom's house, and away I'd go to work. But about 10 years ago, I came out onto my front porch and then did a triple axle off the top step and ruptured my quadricep.
Yeah, that wasn't on purpose, I'm guessing.
No.
Yeah.
And I stuck the landing, but then there was more ice and I kept sliding. And then I heard this horrible snap, which was the tendon. And so after the recovery, or after I got into PT, the first thing they did, they put me on an exercise bike and just
Right.
had me just rock those pedals back and forth. And then one day it just went over the top. And that's how I got to learn to use my leg again.
Wow.
And so I tried cycling to work after the recovery time, and one day would result in 3 or 4 days of hobbling around. I was having a hard time with the kneecap, staying on track, and scar tissue. So anyhow, I had a friend who had a cargo bike, and he put it up on Facebook and was showing it off. I thought, wow, an electric bike that's a cargo bike. That's kind of interesting. And didn't think much about it. And then somebody else showed up at work with a folding e-bike. And that's when I decided I needed to buy an e-bike. And I went to this furniture store called the Nebraska Furniture Mart. It's the largest home furnishing store. Or no plugs, probably. So I went to this large furnishing store here in Omaha, Nebraska, and they had e-bikes. I was there for a completely different purpose. And I just bought this electric bike. I did not test ride it.
Wow.
I didn't look into, is the manufacturer reputable or anything like that. But
what is the e-bike? What brand was it?
It's a Magnum Metro S.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a big, heavy frame. It's got a nice rack on the back with bags, and it came with fenders, came with lights, came with the rack, came all completely equipped. And so I started riding that bike, and then I got a ticket on my automobile for not moving it.
Love that.
Yeah, some neighbor turned me in, right? So I peeled all the stickers off. It was a warning ticket, and I moved the truck and decided to sell the truck.
Wow. So are you living car free in Omaha, Nebraska?
My wife has a car.
Oh, okay.
So if it's a snowy or icy day, and because of my fall on ice, I'm a little leery of riding a bike on ice.
Right.
She will drive me to and
Sure.
from on the snowy days, deep
Well,
snow
hold
or
on.
ice.
Let me ask you something because you've been posting a little bit about a 30-day winter bike challenge. I wonder if you could talk about that since we're talking about winter cycling.
Right. So on my YouTube channel, I decided I was gonna on the first, I decided, I'm gonna do a 30-day winter cycling. It would be 31, but I didn't think of it until the first.
Well, most
I
people
think,
do a dry January and you're doing
yeah,
a workout
I
January.
think I saw it on Blue Sky. I think there's a challenge or something on Blue Sky that was 31. Okay, I'm doing 30. And I'm just gonna do it on my own in case I fail. So I decided to videotape every day and post it. And it's been a lot of fun. Editing is the hard part.
Right.
Biking, the cycling in the coldest day I've had was, well, I think it was 7 this morning. So 7 would have been the coldest day so far. And I have found that if you dress properly, the temperatures are not the problem. It could be like hidden ice or so I just take my time.
Right.
And so I'm on day 12 of the Great Nebraska 30-day winter cycling challenge.
That's
and
great. Are you
and
using studded tires or really fat tires, or are you just using your regular summer e-bike?
I'm just using my summer e-bike and getting salt all over it and getting it all rusty, which is going to be a problem down the road. But that bike I've had, it's the bike that I bought at the furnishing store,
Oh, wow.
the Magnum Metro S. It's got close to 5,500 miles on it now.
Great.
And I had to replace the tires, but no studded tires. The idea behind studded tires, I talked to this gentleman online who I really admire, and he has a channel. Can I say?
Sure. Yeah.
It's Shifter. His name is Tom Babin, I think,
Hmm.
Babin. And he's written a big bike. Tom has written a book on winter cycling.
Oh, wow. Great.
And so in talking to him, what I think I've determined is I need to talk the Jabalisco plant manager into approving the expenditure for
That's
a
your
win.
wife?
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, sir. Expenditure, approving it for a new winter bike
Sure.
that would have studded tires, and if the need, and then you just roll the winter bike out and you're set to go. Because I'm not the best bike mechanic, and I don't see myself swapping tires. And the e-bike is a rear hub motor, so you'd have to disconnect
Yeah. Yeah.
the wiring and blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
anyway, that
Bikes have definitely made a big change lately with disc brakes and electronic shifting and all those kinds of things. And so someone like me who's a decent bike mechanic is now in over my head. I
oh,
couldn't do it at all on an e-bike or something like that. So I think you're right. Just get two bikes.
I'm gonna get 2 bikes, and if on the e-bike, I think what if I would have known, I would have found an e-bike mechanic and asked that person what I should be looking at and what will they work on. I,
Right.
so luckily there's a big bike company that's in town, and their service shop works on my bike for me. That just got super lucky on this e-bike thing.
Great. Great. Well, let me ask you, you said you've been biking a long time
Mhm.
and kind of got back into it as a rehabilitative, is that the right word? A
It was therapeutic.
rehabilitating
Yeah.
exercise. And I think that's
Yeah.
one of the great things about the bicycle. But your blog and your channel is Cycling Past 60. What changes have you noticed in your body and in your riding now that you are past 60 and continuing to ride every day?
I think, first of all, I probably won't go back to my regular bike,
Hmm.
because there's no pain in my leg when the electric assist flattens out the Omaha hills for me.
Right.
So that was one thing. It's a really gentle way to get exercise for me and to get my heart rate up. And so I'm exercising 30 minutes twice a day, 5 times a week, sometimes on the weekend. And that has been really wonderful. But the biggest thing is something. up here that no one told me about is that
Just so the listeners know, you're pointing to your head, your
yes,
brain.
yes,
Yeah.
there's something that happens chemically in your brain when you have a horrible day at work and you're riding home, and by the time you get home and get your things into the garage, it's all washed away. I've said it a million times. I need this ride today. Can I give you a ride? No, I need this ride. And I don't have mental health issues, but I am so much happier and so much nicer when I ride my bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
It the physical thing is fantastic. And e-bikes do give you exercise. I spend a great deal of time editing out, while I'm riding up a hill or something like
Right.
that. You get to choose the amount of assist that your body wants. And then so you're always pedaling, and you don't get any assist unless you pedal.
Right.
So the biggest thing for me has been a brain chemical thing, not a physical thing.
Right.
I've maintained my weight for the whole 3 years that I've ridden this e-bike. So,
Right.
but I do have tips. If anyone wants tips on how to put on 15 pounds of unwanted ugly fat, let me know.
No one wants those tips. Let me
Okay.
tell you.
All right.
Well, I think it's great, and I love that you say that you still get a lot of exercise on an e-bike, because I think that's what we're starting to find out as e-bikes become more prevalent, that
Mhm.
some people even get more exercise on the e-bike than they would on a normal bike because they're riding longer, they're riding further, and they're riding more often.
That is true in my case. I mean, that's why the car went away, because I was able to ride every day.
Right.
And if I work a 12-hour shift and my legs are dead, it's not a big deal. Then I just bump it up to level 2 and
Right.
just get a little extra assist, right?
Right. Nick
But
and I were talking a couple weeks ago at the start of the year about our mission statements for the show and what we get out of cycling and things like that. And I feel like you do, that it can really clear my head. And something about riding from point A to point B, as opposed to just going out and riding for the fun of riding, really makes that all the more powerful for me. Riding home from work, riding to run some errands. I don't know why that's different, but it feels so good
yeah,
to me also.
it's really hard. It's really hard for me. Like I've struggled with my channel, like what I want my channel to be, and I still don't know. And I think I need to go back to the reason I started it was I just wanted to show everybody, oh my gosh, people over 60. If you used to ride a bike and you think you're done, you're not. I need to find a way to talk about that. And it's hard. It's hard to explain that feeling you get. Like I'm going to the hardware store. I'm going
Right.
to the grocery store. I'm gonna stop at the grocery store on the way home. It's just so rewarding and so wonderful. And to pull right up to the front door and lock your bike up and walk right in is
Yeah,
great
yeah.
too. But I don't know how, it's like the arts, I don't know how to tell people why the arts are good for you,
Well, I think you just
and
have to show them, and that's what I see on your face,
yeah,
and what I hear in your voice is this happiness
and
about just being out on the bike. And you can't always tell people. You just have to go do it and let them find it for themselves sometimes.
I hope to demonstrate that imagery on the channel. That's all I really want to do now. Although there's like Blue Sky has the app Blue Sky has kind of I'm exposed, you included, the exposed to so many people, and I'm learning that everyone's fighting so hard with tons of energy to try to change the hearts and minds of people in political power
Right,
to build bike infrastructure because this feeling we have is so great and it's for everybody.
right. I
But
mean, sometimes I feel like I'm standing on the street corner in New York, shouting out Bible verses, about how great
yeah.
the bike is.
How do you do it? It's like anytime you're spending public money, you have to measure something. You have to show them a measurement, right? How about just that it makes you better as a human being and it makes you smarter, happier, and healthier? What is wrong with that? And it makes the
Right,
people around you happier, right?
right.
that's just not good enough. It's just
Yeah,
it reminds me of the arts. We
right,
have to. Well, if you play violin, your kid will get a better math grade. Well,
right.
what? Hello? How about it just
Yeah.
makes you a better person?
And as
I
we've
don't.
seen in Los Angeles in the last couple of weeks with the fires, we have to make some of these changes. We can't rely on doing business as we've been doing it in our civic building and expect a different outcome.
Yeah, Taylor. What I only see what I see on the national news, and to see cars not being able to drive out of their neighborhood
Right,
was horrifying, very just horrifying to
right.
watch. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Well, John, what is the name of your um, blog and your YouTube channel? And also, what's the next show at the Omaha Playhouse?
Okay, so the YouTube channel is the key to everything for me. It's pedaling past 60, so it's pedaling past 60 on Instagram, and it's pedaling past 60 on Threads and Blue Sky also. And I'm
Great.
kind of moving over to Blue Sky and
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
trying
we
to
have
figure.
on Bike Talk. Yeah.
And the next show is Waitress, which
Oh,
is a very popular musical set in a diner. And I think there was a movie. It wasn't a musical, but I think there was a movie
yeah, with Carrie Russell, I believe.
this uh, that this was based on.
Well, John Jablisco, thanks very much for cycling past 60 and spreading the good word and for coming on Bike Talk.
I I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to meet you.
Absolutely.
All right.